G'day, it's Dr. Tony here with Realms of Power. Today I would like to celebrate the 20th episode of this series. It's been a great journey, so I'll be doing some recap and also focusing on time and how time in the fourth dimension is something that if you get more control over, will definitely improve your tap and your power. So let's dive straight in. We've set out an intention in Realms of Power podcast to turn your true aligned power on. And we've constantly referred to the be, do, have model. So being more authentic, doing more of what you love doing, having ultimate freedom. And the fourth flow on from that is never needing to work again. And that is slightly funny, as in the realm we're in now, most people have to work. But it's finding something that you love and are passionate about and being able to get paid for it. And if you can take that right up to the next level of ultimate freedom, where your investments and your assets are creating enough cash flow for you to live without working, you still want to choose to do something you love doing. That might be a passion project or whatever. So having that feeling of never needing to work again would be one of the great metrics that we're going for. Now, in our very first episode, we started with the 12 different realms of power. And let's summarize those quite briefly. The first is physical power. So that is your body. That is your essence of your strength, the 3D body creating spatial awareness of length, breadth, and height. So the three-dimensional world we live in, it's very important to be looking after your physical body to have that power. The second realm is chemical power, and that's massive. The chemicals do affect our body. The chemical interactions of enzymes, hormones, and the like will turn your power on. And we look at air and ether. We look at water and the power of water. We look at all of those different chemical realms to turn your power on. The third is emotional power. So that is your emotions, your high vibration emotions, authenticity being one of the top ones, love, gratitude, joy, peace, and then the lower states of guilt, fear, stress, anxiety, depression, all of those shame type of emotions that can negatively affect you and drop your power. The fourth has been financial power. So that is, in the 3D world we live in, how do we create that financial power and freedom to create the doing what you want to do, but still meeting your financial obligations in this realm? 5 has been the special one of the heart, and we linked the thymus and heart in one of my recent podcasts on the tap. And connecting that energetic field of the heart will definitely increase your power. Number 6 is environment. And that is the area you live in, the clutter, the blockages, the Wi-Fi signals, all of those areas that can negatively impact your power. And the positive, clean living of environment, living in harmony with your environment, living with nature, grounding your body into nature in this electromagnetic realm we live in. Number 7 has been spiritual power. And geez, I've been working a lot on that myself lately, and how to expand into that spiritual power and just being careful of not having spiritual ego. Oh, I'm more evolved than you. And it's just, we're all on this journey. We're all in different headspaces, and that's people, and then there's animals, there's other beings, other entities. Depends on how far you want to go down that rabbit hole and what your spiritual beliefs are. But turning your power on in the spirit is massive. As a Chiro, I love number 8, which is innate power, your inborn spark, the spark that you have that is your life force. What magic is in that spark, the spark that animates living cells, how that actually even works, and making sure you're in alignment so you have access to all of that healing power and inborn spark. If you're out of alignment, then you're definitely not going to be expressing that at the same level. Number 9 is relationship power. First of all, of course, how you relate to yourself. That's your consciousness or soul. interacting with your mind, your body, and that relationship is very important. Some people do negative self-talk. Their relationship with themselves is, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And that's really negative. The positive uplifting is being able to be still, witnessing your own relationship. And then, of course, it's relationship with your partner if you have one, with your children if you have them, with your family, whatever that family unit looks like, and your friends. Then, of course, it's colleagues and just people in the community that you relate to and in your workspace as well. So that relationship power really comes in under communication, and optimizing that relationship power is one of the best things you can do in your life. Mental power is number 10, and that's really your sharpness, your wit, your intelligence, your ability to stay calm in a crisis. And it does relate, of course, to emotional health, but we've separated them out because I believe your mental health is very important. On the downside or lower power side, one of the second biggest killers in Australia right now is Alzheimer's and loss of memory. And I believe that there's a crisis on the way. So we need to really look at all of those realms of power to slow that down, stop it, reverse it, really be conscious of staying in our mental faculties and power so that while we are here on this realm, we can communicate to our highest level. Number 11, I did a whole podcast on this, is your life purpose. Why are we here? What are the big questions? What are we here to learn, remember, achieve, do? Is that in alignment with our authenticity, what we really want to do, not what someone's told us to do? And there's a bigger realm in that as well of, is this realm predetermined or do we have choice and free will? And either way, whether that's a duality in and of itself, the life purpose, the clearer you are on that, the easier it is to get up in the morning, be passionate, and just feel the fullness of bliss of your life. Number 12 is the thing that we are most under by, which is your political power. Political power and leadership. And if you are under the power of the government, under the power of the governing bodies, corporations, how well can you stand into your power? I said in my Political Power podcast that I'd like to get an expert onto this show. And I've met someone just recently who's massively expanded my understanding and awareness in this area. I'm still got my L plates on, if you want to call it that. To stand in your power there without be going rogue or off realm, if you like, be able to still have an interaction with the public, but also stand in your power is one of the most biggest areas that cuts our freedom and our ability to travel and our ability to express ourselves exactly how we want in this realm. So that's a brief summary of the realms of power. And we've had a whole bunch of amazing guest speakers. I'm so grateful for the guest speakers we've had on up to now, sharing their wisdom in each or overlapping of those realms. And it's just been an absolute honor. I'm so humble, and to be able to share with you how you could turn your tap on, your true aligned power on in any or all of those realms has been an absolute worthwhile journey. I said at the start, if I could help inspire just one person to turn their power on, that would be worth it. And for my time and input into this, it's really been just easy. It's just happened. I felt like I'm in just flow, and there's no agenda other than just to really help people. So I've loved this journey so far, and I hope to do another 20 episodes or more, depending on what speakers we can get. We're trying to release these every Sunday. Sometimes I might do an extra, and hopefully you're getting great value out of this. So we'd love your comments and feedback if you're able to put that online so other people can share and get a benefit or a win from listening to this podcast. So I talked at the start of this podcast about a topic here I wanted to cover today, which is time. And We've heard about the 3-dimensional world we live in, which if you break it right down is space, is length, breadth, and height. And so we live in a spatial field. And as a chiropractor, when I'm talking about misalignment, that might be of the physical body or the energetic body, by creating alignment, I'm creating alignment with intention into the 3D field. An area, though, that's very important adding into this is time, which, if you want to break it down, could be put into the temporal or fourth dimension. And time, as we know, can be quite fluid. There is in the now, there is what we would, as humans, consider the future, and also what humans would consider the past. I've been doing a lot of work lately on, again, the purpose of why we're here. And I think a big part of that purpose, for me anyway, has been remembering who I am, remembering why I'm here, and whether that ties into soul contracts, past lives, don't know what your beliefs are. But for me, I feel that I've had some knowledge and wisdom and learning different things. There has to be something in that. I've seen young kids who seem like old souls. They seem to just know stuff and access it. Maybe our education system stamps a lot of that out, gets rid of their imagination. And there's a difference between imagination and actual reality. So people think, oh, if I can't see it, it's not real. But in your dream, when you're dreaming and dreaming of imagination, of wonderful things, of flight, of transporting yourself, of lucid dreaming, is that just as real? Because you feel real in the dream. And again, it comes back to forgetting that dream. So what if we could remember that dream? What if we could remember those skills? And why are those skills available to us when we're asleep, but for most people, not when we're awake? That's a pretty great question. And I think that links to time. And time is, again, very distorted in a dream. It could feel sometimes like the longest dream ever, but it was only very short, or vice versa. So time is one of those amazing topics. So when I talked about misalignment before, I was talking about something out of alignment in the 3D world. But we've all heard of mistiming, when we buggered up our timing in the fourth dimension. I know I've done that many times. So if you want to turn your power on, what if you could focus on really honing in on your timing? And that example might be not what you were going to say, but taking that pause and asking yourself, when is the right timing to say that? That's just one example of getting your timing right. I know, again, for me, I can only speak for myself here. I've mistimed things many, many times before and wish in the moment, God, I wish I'd got that right. So a focus on getting your timing right is super important. And that could be in anything. It could be in your work. It could be in your communication. It could be in your sport. It could be in your passion. It could be in anything, really. And getting your timing right becomes a mastery of, imagine being a black belt or turning your power on in the area of timing. Now, let's just talk about two types of timing. There's the instantaneous in the now timing during a conversation, catching yourself in the moment and making sure you've got that timing right. That's super important. But then there's also the rhythm, the flow of longer timing events. It might be over days, over months, and getting your timing right there. We're all in these cycles. Think of it like the tides coming in and out, and pushing yourself against the tide when you don't need to be might be an example of not being in flow. So if you ask yourself in the moment, am I really just in the flow of this moment? And think of it as a tide. Sometimes the tide coming in means, yes, you've got to be going, doing stuff. Sometimes there's that pause between tides where you're holding your breath and going, right, this is the time to listen, to be still. And then the outgoing tide means, okay, now I'm just letting it go, releasing things. And that analogy of the longer cycle of tides in your timing is a really important flow that if you could get right, could massively increase your power and your ability to function well in this realm. So that's something to consider. If you think of the is of the moment, is, and think of that in terms of timing, and then think of the word bliss, B-L-I-S-S. So is right in the middle of bliss. If you've had a moment of bliss before where you're fully expanded, you're just not just in joy or in love, but bliss is for me just expanding even outside or expanding my field. Everything's clicking, everything's right. That is a perfect example of perfect timing. And that's the is of the moment. You are just in flow, in resonance, in harmony with everything. The in is in being, B-E-I-N-G. So I-N in the middle of being is in. In is more like the 3D, the body. You're in your body. You're feeling your alignment. You're in space, being. So being in bliss is really the 3 and 4D realms combining when you're just getting it right. And getting it right is a balance. So over time, again, the flow, things will come in, things will come out. There'll be moments of power in realms of power where you're feeling really powered. And then there'll be moments in any one of those spokes on the wheel that might be down on power. That's not good or bad. That's just part of the duality and the flow that we're in this realm. So I talked at the start about turning your power on, turning your true aligned power on. And sometimes in turning it off, that's not turning your power down. That's just creating the stillness of the moment that you're in right now. So that masculine and feminine, the pushing, the going for it, the allowing it to happen. That's a dance as well of masculine and feminine. And being in bliss is a true state of remembering that you deserve to be here, that you are here, and your power is on. That's really the whole essence of this podcast, to turn your power on, to stand in your power, not to be better than someone like in spiritual ego, not to be better than someone in physical black belting yourself, but just to be the best version of yourself with the time you're here. Now, one thing that happens is that in the relationship dynamic, we can give our power away. We can get walked all over. We can feel like we're on a purpose, a life purpose, where we're giving out too much energy and forgetting the receiving. So I want you to be conscious of that duality, the giving and receiving. Some people take, and don't give out anything. Others give, and don't receive anything, don't even allow themselves a compliment. So really just focus on yourself, give yourself permission to turn your power on. And when you observe it in someone else, one of the main things to do is not to judge, just to be in the stillness and observation of our reality. In the double slit famous experiment, we collapse our reality when we observe it. There's so much to that, and people are exploring more and more into the quantum field of how this reality actually looks. Is it a holographic projection of our consciousness? Wow, that's a deep topic, and I'll save that for another podcast. So from this podcast today, what I would like you to consider and think about is your relationship to time. How well are you in flow in the moment, and how well are you in flow in the rhythms of time, your daily, your weekly, your monthly, yearly cycles? And how could you turn your power on in both of those realms? That's a real deep question to reflect on. And this podcast has really just been a celebration for me of the journey to now and having a great conversation with you amazing people who are willing to turn their power on. I would love in the second half of this year to take this whole podcast up another level by interviewing more people, but also gathering in community, gathering in groups, whether that's in a workshop format, an online forum, a accountability group, whatever that is. And if that's something that you think you might be interested in, I'd love to hear from you. So email me or direct message me on one of the social platforms and get in touch about what you think, what you feel could be an amazing opportunity to gather in community and turn your power on. I know, leading this. However, I love input. I love people's wisdom, whether that's useful wisdom, elder wisdom, and just wisdom and ideas that spark people to have an amazing life. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate all of your time, effort, and energy in this realm. And whenever you help another person and pay it forward, that's just one of the most amazing things a person can do, to stay in gratitude, to pay it forward. So I hope you have an awesome day. See ya.